Welcome to Streams of Income, hosted by best-selling author and entrepreneur Dr. David Powers, where we discuss streams of income, passive income, residual income, and even why there are dinosaurs and zombies in this intro. Fasten your seatbelts and get ready to dive in.
Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Streams of Income podcast. We are here with Miss Lacey Hennessy, and I have really been looking forward to this because, Miss Lacey, I think you're local to me. You're in upstate South Carolina, right?
Yeah, I'm in Greenville.
Okay, awesome. Because, I mean, you've done so many murals around me, including my small little one-stop town of Liberty, that absolutely amazing. And so I've been looking forward to this because I'm a big fan, and so are my kids, because every time we see a Lacey mural, like the one at the convention center we saw recently, and
that's a big one.
Really impressed. And
thank you so much.
First of all, though, that's an interesting blouse. I've never said that to a podcast guest, but
thank you. It's actually a dress.
It's cool.
It is a dress. I love a splash of color. I don't shy away from it. That's for sure.
That is awesome. That is awesome. And so I'll tell you what, I guess maybe start at the beginning. Have you always been into, well, you know what? I swear, let me introduce you first. I've just been thinking in my head so much about this. Lacey does murals. So for all of you that are listening and haven't been inside my head this whole time, she does the murals, and I'm talking huge, monstrous, entire side of building kind of murals. And so now that we've done the intro, the official intro, have you always been into art?
It's funny. My whole career has been what I call a happy accident, if you go back to the good times. But in high school, I did ceramics classes, but I graduated from high school in 2000. And that was really, it's kind of weird to say, but before the internet really took off, there wasn't social media. So when I kind of look back when I went to college of what do you want to be when you grow up, you have the typical response of, do you want to be a teacher? Do you want to do, it's like all these things. Artists, people still had the notation of a starving artist because, there wasn't social media where you could really become anything you wanted to be. So I did have an interest in art, but it just wasn't the path that people, continued to push or support. So I went off to college, and there, to make money on the side, I was painting. I went to Clemson and I was painting fraternity coolers, $50 here and there. And then as I graduated, I was broke. My first job out of college didn't pay me very much. I was in radio. And so if I got invited to a wedding, I'd make them a gift instead of buy them one. And then it turned into, oh, do you sell these? I sure do. So I didn't really I had what was a side hustle in college and didn't realize it until social media came out, and I started posting things on Instagram and Facebook, and people would say, oh, do you buy that? And I would just lie and say, or do you sell that? I'd say, I sure do. And then I felt weird talking about money. So I made a website just so I could push them to that instead of talking about money. And then before I knew it, it was a side hustle that was making me enough income to eventually, switch from full-time, I was in marketing at the time, into a full-time artist, and made the leap. And my first mural wasn't actually until a year after that.
Wow. Well, that's pretty neat because technically, you market yourself because, I'm an author. And so I realized that, I know that most of writing a book is marketing the book after it's already out there. Right. And so you're marketing yourself. You are actually doing what you went to college for. And you're like a rare unicorn.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Well, and technically speaking, my degree is Parks, Recreation, Tourism Management. They opened me with welcoming arms after a rough start to college. But I do go back and speak to Clemson students often, telling them, you can make your degree whatever you want it to be. And very much what I do now is very tourism heavily related. So it is kind of cool how it's a full circle moment. And the Clemson, I couldn't get into their art program at the time, but they have now since paid my tuition back. I've done so many murals in Clemson. So it is a very good aha moment for me.
Yeah. That's kind of, I never really thought about it that way, but your murals, they're so good and so huge. It makes people want to stop and get pictures with them. And I'm thinking of you did the one on the side of the running store in Greenville, right?
Yeah, on down on Washington Street. It's very motivational. Okay. And we did that right before the Swamp Rabbit was continued underneath that underpass for Cleveland Park. So that's a great one. It's a good place for people to stop and meet and run. You see it coming down the road. It's a good eyeball.
Yeah, I mean that's what I was thinking as far as tourism goes. I mean, you park there at the running store, you get your pictures, and you go in the running store and maybe buy some stuff. I mean, it's a good deal. And I told you before, the one in Liberty. I mean, I walked by that thing so many times, and we I've gotten pictures with it. We've done all that, and you've got so much into the murals, though. I mean, sometimes I'll notice things I haven't even noticed before. So it's kind of neat seeing the same ones over and over.
Yeah, I love putting little Easter eggs in there too. It's a good conversation piece, but also there's so many ways that murals are helpful. Like not only does it, that particular building, especially schools, going from a white wall to like a big splash of color, it's really impactful to people's morale and everything else. But I do a lot of murals that have to deal with messaging. I do some that are vinyl, that are temporary. There's a wall in Greenville that rotates art every 6 months. There's a new artist that comes in, and I've had the ability to do that a couple times. So it's really neat how people have been able to use their spaces to either promote an event or whatever it might be, and circle back to an artist and support public art.
Yeah, it's pretty neat. I've got a friend in Myrtle Beach that she'll go and do live paintings during weddings. You talked about doing something instead of buying something,
Yeah.
and she'll do that instead of a gift, and it's so much cooler.
Yeah, well, and I tell people, I'm like, look around, every single thing you own, sit on, wear, it's all designed. So I feel like I have excellent job security because as long as I can design and create something, the possibilities are really endless, which is really exciting.
Oh yeah, it's pretty cool. And I was looking at your latest Instagram post right before we got on because I wanted to make sure I spelled your name right in my notes, and so
it's a doozy.
But I noticed you mentioned this is your first full year as a full-time artist.
Oh no, my first year was 2018. July 1st, 2018 was the first time. Well, July 1st was my first day as a full-time entrepreneur. My first mural was in December of 2019. And then I was like, okay, I'll try to do 5 this year. Then I did 10, then I did 22. And now I average like anywhere between 35 and 50 a year. So it's steamrolled rather quickly.
Yeah. And you're not just doing them local either. I mean, you're going all over the place doing these.
Yeah, I'm going, I have one in Michigan in a few weeks, which will be my 11th state. So that's very exciting. Yeah. And I have one, I'm talking to somebody about one in Florida, which will be number 12. So yeah, it's pretty cool.
Oh yeah, man. So what's your biggest mural?
Square footage wise, probably that one at Greenville Convention Center, multi-story. That's vinyl. I have a huge one in Clemson on the side of Judge Colors. That's also multiple stories. Run-in's rather large, but it's interesting. Like, so Run-in, for example, I use a lot of negative space in that mural. So there's a lot of, it's a big wall, but it might have only taken me about 6 or 7 hours just for the fact that I used the previous color on the background. Whereas I have a big wall in Simpsonville that was like 100 feet long and every square inch was painted, but I sprayed the background of that one first to make the details less work. So I always try to think about how I can help not only myself, but I do a lot of that with schools with budgets. I say, here's what the cost could be for all these different sizes. Where do you want to land? And then I don't do any design work until we decide what that budget is, because I try to help facilitate, like 5 different people could have the same size wall, completely different budgets, but I could still design artwork that fits everybody. So that's how I've been really successful, is just being really adaptable and flexible and asking what people's goals are rather than trying to make one specific artwork style fit. I kind of am a chameleon when it comes to the arts of like, what's your color palette? What are your goals? Okay, let's see what we can do to fulfill both of those.
Yeah. And how does the process work? I mean, do towns and schools, people like that, just they come across you and they just call and say, hey, let's figure something out?
Yeah, I've been really fortunate. I attribute it all to social media. I am an oversharer to the core. I'm super transparent. I have a lot of self-inflicting jokes. People like to hear my process. And so I help a lot of artists in that way too. I'm doing a little business coaching on the side now, but most of the time people will reach out to me by email or direct message on Instagram and say, we want a mural. And I normally start by asking them, well, why do you even want one? So I can kind of dive deeper into those goals. And then I ask for photos and measurements of the space. I kind of send you some general numbers back, always a price range. I charge by the square foot and the complexity of the design as also like surface type. So I'm about to do a huge stucco wall. Stucco is just basically billions of holes that you have to fill in, essentially. So it's very different than doing an interior wall. So a lot goes into it that way. But I give you some general pricing and then kind of talk about where you want to land, and we talk about the design, and then it's my job. Even I love it actually when people are like, we need these 10 things to all work together, because it's kind of like a puzzle for me. So I put all the pieces together, and there's so much admin. I'm doing a webinar for some artists in a couple weeks, and there's 10 steps to my mural process, and painting was number 7. So wow. There's a lot of lead time that comes up, the contracts and the invoices and all that stuff. So it's a process, but my marketing background is such an attribution to that, in the fact that like I was really good at the admin side. So I'm a rare breed as an artist, where I have this artist mind, but I'm also very like type A in a way, where like I can really deal with Excel spreadsheets and all that good stuff. So it's a good balance.
Yeah, that's pretty cool. I mean, I can nerd out on an Excel spreadsheet real quick. Man, so let's see. The murals is the obvious thing. So what other streams of income do you have? Like, where else do you sell your art? What are the things you into for income from that?
So I have a couple art licensing deals. Most of them, I have all given them permission to take accountability for those images. So I don't necessarily promote them as mine, but I have a royalty-based fee with them, so I get paid every month or every quarter, depending on the client, which is nice. And then I also sell prints, and I still do commissions, which is how I started. So what's really cool is that, I still sell things on my website that are $35, but I might do a mural for $35,000. So it's a very, broad spectrum. And not that I want to be someone for everybody, but that's how I started and how I got up. And I really love everyone being able to own a piece of art, whether that is a reproduction or an original. So that's important to me. This weekend, I'm having a pillow sale. I had a textile line at one point. I do business coaching, either 1-hour calls or webinars. And I also offer free downloads off my website for, my mural packing list and all that good stuff. So I kind of have two audiences on social media. I have artists that following me because they love that I give free, transparent information. And then I have my clients. And a lot of the people that follow me might not ever buy a mural from me, but they do buy, a smaller piece. But what's really cool is by being so open with this line of artists, it actually helps me get clients because they just see me as more of an expert in my field. So you run into a lot of artists that want to gatekeep. They don't want to tell you what kind of paint they're using or products. And to me, it's just a waste of time, because I want us all to I always say the tide rises together. And if every single artist charged exactly the same and we all ran our businesses, I still feel we would all still be successful, even if we all did the same, because your idea is different from my idea. And so I've had a lot of success by joining other artists in group chats and just being really like collaborative. And so when I'm not a very good realism person. I've got a friend who's a phenomenal aerosol spray paint can. Yeah. His technique is unreal. So when someone comes to me for that, I know I'm not the best fit. So I'll send work to him, and then he shoots it back to me when it's like a little more whimsical. So having different income streams and having a community that like everybody kind of talks about what the norm should be has been really advantageous for me.
I love that point of view, because like I say, I write books, and beyond it, I give away a ton of books. I have never had a bad thing happen, anything like that, by just giving away more information. And
right.
Like you said, it helps get you clients, because a lot of people I run into, they think you give it away, people are just going to always take it for free, or they're going to steal it. And the thing is, a lot of people will get your stuff and realize, no, I'd rather just pay her to do this or coach me. I'll take her worksheets, and I realize I'm over my head. I need to throw her some money and have her coach me personally. Yeah. And I love that.
Yeah. And, I always think about my time as value, and it's really interesting. I have people who will, message me, and I can tell pretty quickly if someone's even going to take my advice and do something with it. The people who have questions ready to go, and they're just so eager. I might sell a 1 hour coaching to them and end up on the phone with them for 3 hours because I'm so excited that they're going to leave their job that they hate and do this thing that they love. Like that fills my cup. And so if I could just the walls are endless, right? I'm only in 11 states, 12 maybe coming up. I got so much more to conquer. So, that's not something that scares me at all.
Oh man, see now I'm looking forward, and I'm seeing the documentary. Lacey does 50 states, and that sounds bad, but you know what I'm saying. 50 state tour, doing a mural in every state for a year or whatever. That would be awesome. We'll see. I'll see it on Netflix someday.
I would love that. I used to have a goal, maybe not so much. This was prior to COVID, and then COVID happened, and I couldn't find an RV anywhere. But I had this dream because I love to travel, and I was like, it'd be really cool to be sponsored by a Sprinter van, like a Mercedes van or something, and they would wrap it, and it'd almost be like a Where's remember Carmen Sandiego? You would have to, there could be a competition where you have to spot the van, but maybe they have a philanthropic tie with Ronald McDonald House or something. So they pay me basically to do all these Ronald McDonald houses, but I would promote living in the van and doing this road trip. And I was like, this could be a whole show, a mini course. It could be cool.
That would be awesome. That makes me wonder too, do you already have any sponsorships with a paint company or anything like that?
I don't. I've had some companies be really good to me. Zebra Paintbrush is based out of North Carolina, and they drop stuff off to me all the time, which is really great. My Wagner spray gun. Like I said, I'm very big on supporting people that I love, whether they are backing me or not. On April Fool's Day, my favorite tape company, for doing trim work and things, Frog Tape, posted that they had come out with this new tape, and it was never ending, and it was this 20 picture carousel on Instagram, and then I get to the end and it's April Fool's, and I commented on that. I was like, I've never been more excited for a product launch in my life. They were just wow, she's passionate, and shared my content. So it all comes full circle. I would love to be sponsored by Bear Paint, but I don't know if I'm the drop in the paint bucket, so to speak, as compared to what they're doing.
And in terms of supporting people that you love, Frog Tape is the green one if we see it at Home Depot, right?
That's correct. If I see you using blue tape, I'm like,
get that trash off the wall and put some green tape on. It's
not as good. Yeah, it is not worth the $1 that you're going to save. That's for sure.
I'm not an artist, but doing house painting inside my house and stuff, the blue one does tend to it seeps under the edges, and it's not a straight edge. So don't buy the cheap blue stuff. It ain't worth it.
Right. And if you just painted your house, you should buy the yellow tape. That's their delicate version.
Oh, see, I didn't even know about that.
Yeah, just as good.
See, there we go. We're going to have to hashtag Frog Tape on this one.
There you go.
And so before I forget, and everybody can see it in the picture, whoever's watching it on YouTube, Lacey_does is where they can find you on Instagram, and they can get to your website and everything from there, right?
Yep, and I always tell people, my business started, my last name was Hennessy, and people could never spell it. They'd butcher it. And I started out, doing all kinds of different art, and I did even wedding flowers at one point. I was all over the place. So my business really was built from people saying, well, see if Lacey does it. Because I would always say yes. And still to this day, I got contacted for something yesterday for a wedding that I was like, oh, I've never done that, but I bet you I could. If I can design it, we can make it. So I still love that that's the mentality. And I get a lot of word of mouth referrals, and I sign all my murals. I put, see what really small, and then at Lacey Does. It kind of provokes some thought, some question, and you're curious to go look. And, then they go see my artwork, and it always leads to something good.
Yeah, that's pretty cool. All right. So one question I always ask all my guests is if you could pick out 3 resources that you would recommend, whether it's for art, for business, for life in general, and it can be books, podcasts, anything, your top 3 resources somebody should check out to be as awesome as you.
Oh, that's so sweet. Well, I'm a big fan of Jesse Itzler.
Oh,
Jesse. Yep. Itzler, Itzler.
He's crazy.
I would say number 1 for him, just the way of life. Like I found him a couple of years ago. I'm in a business adventure forum of his. That's a year-long program this year. But go follow him on Instagram if you want to just be highly motivated. Jesse really encourages building a life resume, not only just a business resume. And that really resonated to me. I've been to like 24 countries, and I started just a couple of years ago traveling and found the itch. But I'm just a yes person at heart. What led me to quit my job, not Jesse, but just the idea of what are we doing? You know, like you got to really find your passion. I've also had a lot of young loss in my life. I've lost a lot of friends to really tragic accidents. And so that really has impacted me of just like, live your best life. If you don't like something about your situation, change it. And Jesse's all about like health and just, you know, being your best self. So I would highly encourage you to follow him. His wife, started Spanx, and so she's also really highly motivational. So just a good duo to follow.
Now, is there a big calendar in front of you, like the one he carries around?
There is. I'll show you. It's over here on the side.
I should have known.
My color coordinating. I got the planner right around the corner. You know, I'm all in. I'm all in. I do the cold plunging now. I sauna. I'm hiking the Grand Canyon in 3 weeks with 25 other people in our group. We're doing 22 miles in about 12 to 15 hours. It'll take nonstop, 10,000 feet of elevation. It'll be the hardest thing I've ever done in my life. But the encouragement from his team and just, you know, the aspect of doing hard things together is kind of the concept. So I'm excited.
Oh, yeah. So you're going to go full tilt and hire David Goggins to live with you for a year, that kind of thing?
That'd be terrifying. Also a good book. Yeah.
I think that terrified Jesse too.
Yeah. Or living with a monk sounded even worse, to be honest, but
yeah. All right. So that's the first one. What would you say another one is?
I'm currently reading, I'm not finished, but another book called Who, Not How. And that would be because a friend of mine, Jay Do, you follow him on Instagram. He's a public speaker and just a really awesome marketer here in Greenville. But actually, you've probably seen him around. He used to MC for The Drive and Clemson and everything else.
I know of him, never met him though.
Yeah, great guy. And we went out to lunch and just talked shop, and he recommended the book to me because I, you know, as a person who started as a side hustler and then went into my own business, I've had to figure everything else out myself all along the way. And that has made me become a real control freak, you know, because I wear all the hats. And so I want to know everything that's going on in my business. And as I'm trying to scale, you know, murals especially, my calendar days, that's what's available, you know, and I have to deal with the weather if it's an outdoor, and my love of travel is not going anywhere. So if I'm taking off a bunch of, you know, I'm only limited to a certain amount of time. And so we just kind of talked about how my business can scale from here on out. And Who Not How is really about how you have to let go and delegate and find people who are better at things than you are, and really lean in and trust them to do it.
Oh yeah, definitely. I finally, it was 2 years ago, I hired a VA to help me manage a lot of social media and stuff like that. And she is so good at things I'm not good at all. I mean, videos and editing and everything. Yeah,
well, we should talk offline about that because I need help. I need help. I had an intern this semester, and she was phenomenal. And I wish I was like, don't leave me. Her last week was this past week. I was like, no. But she's graduating, so I got to find somebody else that can live up to her standard. But
yeah. As soon as we're done with this podcast, it goes to my podcast VA, and she edits the podcast and uploads it and everything.
Yeah, amazing. Yeah. And then the third, I would say, this is kind of more of a blanket statement, but TikTok. If you can, you know, get off the feed and kind of train your algorithm to really lean into the things that you want to learn. TikTok and YouTube, I kind of joke that I have a master's degree from YouTube University because if I don't know how to do something, really, I Google it and I find out. I think curiosity is the most important thing you can have as an entrepreneur because the answer is out there. We are living in an age between ChatGPT and, you know, all the resources online, podcasts, everything. There's no excuse for not knowing how to do something if you're actually interested in learning, and for free. TikTok for me kind of shot my business into another level when it comes to murals because I had shoulder surgery. I wasn't working for 3 months. Well, it was on my painting arm. And I moved all my Instagram content to TikTok. I've been on Instagram for 10 years and have 30,000 some followers. I was on TikTok for like a year and a half and made 65,000.
Oh, wow.
The opportunity on TikTok and the community and the way that people are willing to correspond, it doesn't have to be so perfect. You can put up the silliest thing and it can do well. And so, I use that not only to help my business, but to learn as well. And that's how I met a lot of my artist friends who are willing to engage and share information.
Yeah. And the tip there is not to just scroll and train your algorithm to do. It's crazy scary though, because how neat that is, because me and my kids we put a timer on after our homeschool, so we control our schedule, and so after lunch we watch 10 minutes of TikToks, and it's same time every day, and it's a lot of stuff they like funny pet things and all that. Yeah. But when I cold plunge and do my sauna in the evenings, it's weird, but all this motivational, like David Goggins and stuff pops up. I mean, TikTok knows if David's on there in the evening, it's because he needs some help.
Yeah. I mean, some people hate that your phone can guess what you're doing. Not me. If I need something, if I need to get, I'm like, white linen pants. I speak into it. I'm like, I don't have time to look for any of this stuff. Like, bring it to me. I'm not doing anything bad. So, I mean, there's pros and cons to everything that's on the internet. That's for sure.
Yeah, I figured just, quit being so afraid of it and just embrace it and learn how to use it. Because I finally got a pro account on ChatGPT, and now that it's learning how I like to do things and my voice, it saved me so much time I'll rewrite emails and stuff in there, and it sounds like me, but better.
Yeah. Oh, I need to look into that. The thing about it all with the free information is that I run into a lot of girls who will ask me what I'm doing to get as much business as I do. And I tell them marketing, I'm on all the platforms, and they all, there's always this of like, I can't do another one. I'm like, well, you asked me what works for me. That's what worked for me. I'm not spending a single dollar other than making some shirts with my name on it in marketing, and that's my uniform that has paint all over it. So I'm very fortunate that business comes to me, but it is because I put in the time. Now I really enjoy it. I've always loved social media and, like I said earlier, oversharing and being transparent. So it does come naturally for me. But without it, it scares me that it could go away. I don't think it will. The TikTok of it all was a little scary, but that's what's so great about having your footprint on different platforms is so if one goes down, you're not screwed,
Oh yeah. I mean, when TikTok, I'm getting all tongue tied, but when it did go down for 16 hours or so, I mean, I was pivoting to YouTube Shorts just in case, and plus I post there anyway. People think it's so hard, but it's not that hard to post one time and it goes everywhere.
Yeah, and there's so many platforms now that remove watermarks and you can reuse content. I mean, it really, I will say, I understand how it's a full-time job at companies, it is a lot of time. And, but I like to do batch content, if I am put together one day or feeling funny or feeling creative, I'll just go to sounds that I saved while I was doom scrolling, and I'll make, 15 videos at once and kind of use them over the week. So there are ways that you can get around feeling like you're bogged down by it. That's for sure.
Yeah. And if you end up having to do it and don't want to, just hire a VA. Just let them know what you want. Hire a VA and get
everything,
Yeah, it works for me. I mean, a lot of people are afraid of it. Once I got to know her, it took about a month where I was I would check all the posts she made and everything and just to see. But I mean, she posts things that sound just like me now. It's
that's great.
Pretty cool. Yep. All right. So we'll start winding up, and because I know you've got some painting and planning to do, steps 1 through 6 of the mural process.
That's right.
So is anything you'd like to add? Like if you could tell somebody a closing thing that just to inspire people or caution them, whatever works for you, but what would that be?
Well, first, just to plug what I do, what's really cool about being a designer is that if anybody listening or watching has an idea that they need to come to life, I'm your girl from an adaptability standpoint of like, I love it. The weirder the vision, the better. If you see them all over the place, hit me up. My email is reachme@laceydoes.com, which, is kind of helpful to remember, but no idea is a bad idea. But from a cautionary standpoint, or if you're thinking about getting into business, I always tell people, don't listen to them. That's my best advice. The amount of people who cautioned me about, what are you going to do about insurance? And, like, oh, you really, and I just looked at my life, even from a family standpoint. I came from a great family, but there's not a lot of people I can reach out to if I were in a financial hole or anything like that. And so it was really on me. I've had a job since I was 14. So I knew at the end of the day, the buck stopped with me, quite literally. So all these people who couldn't maybe think as big as I was trying to, sell myself, I just didn't listen to them, and I did it. And now I make like 5x what I did in the corporate world, and, take 10 times the vacation. And so I have the last laugh, and it is a lot of work. I remember the first day I worked for myself, another entrepreneur friend of mine said, congrats, Lacey, you will never work harder a day in your life than you do for yourself. And it's so true. I never turn it off, but all the positives and flexibility that comes with it is like tenfold better. So I would just say, follow your gut and don't listen to them if they don't get your ideas, because that's normally when they're the good ones.
Oh, that's awesome. I give the same advice because I have 5 kids. When people mention parenting advice, it's don't take any. Just have fun.
That's right. Exactly. And I tell people, nothing is permanent. If you go down a path and it's not working, the great thing is you can change it and try another one. My mom, we just launched some artwork for her. She's 72, and we did a launch last week. She painted 38 pieces of artwork. And I said, Mom, that is an insane art launch. Normally it's like 10, 15. I said, don't get your hopes up. We'll see what we can do. She sold 31 out of 38 pieces of artwork. I was probably more excited than she was. I was so ecstatic. And I posted on my socials, I was like, it just goes to show you can pivot at any moment. She was just, figured out she has a skill. I was like, well, obviously that's where I got it from. She's insanely talented, but it's just really encouraging. I think, anytime you want to start something new, you just got to start and just see where it goes.
Yeah. And to give her a plug, was that Carol Hennessy, the ones I saw on your Instagram?
Carol Hennessy art. Yep.
Okay. So everybody go check that out too.
Yeah, and her webpage, it's off of my webpage. We're still working on the technical side of things for her. So I said, I'll take it on for you. That's right. She's smarter than me, huh? She figured out a loophole. That's funny. She'll love that.
Yeah. Well, I appreciate you hanging out with me for a little bit. It's Friday, so I don't know if you're like a weekend work person or whatever, but I know you're busy, so I'll let you go. And I'll put all this in the show notes too, though, your resources and your website and everything, because I want people to flood you with requests for awesome things, and because I want to see more Lacey murals.
I would love that. And if you are a budding artist and you want some help, follow me. I also just started a new page called Learn from Lacey. It'll be a dual thing where I'm essentially taking all of the art, because, I post a lot of my artwork, but on my Lacey Does page, anytime I do post a tip, I get a lot of people that follow up and say, hey, can you reshare that or whatever? So I'm just kind of collaborating with myself, essentially. So it'll just be a page where if you want all my free tips, like it's just going to be there as like a resource guide. So if you're a budding artist, hit me up then too. I love to help people.
Yeah, awesome. And me with streams of income, I'm thinking there's a book in there somewhere.
Oh, I'm on it.
And we know who's going to illustrate it. So.
Well, that's right.
Yeah. All right. Well, thanks for being with me, and we'll see you or a mural out somewhere. Oh, my daughter's right here. She was wanting to say hello. This is your other biggest fan.
Hey, how are you? What's your favorite? What's your favorite thing to paint?
Horses.
Oh, that's good. I love. Obviously, look at all the animals I got behind me. I'm a big animal girl.
Awesome. Well, I appreciate it. I appreciate you letting me bring them in too, because I got lots of brownie points just for having you on here.
There you go. Well, I love that.
All right. Well, Miss Lacey, we will talk to you later, and you have a good weekend.
All right. Thanks so much.
Hey, one more thing before we wrap up for good on this podcast. Just came out with another new book, and this is actually, it's going to be the first in the Streams of Income Build a Business guides. And so I'm going to start putting out these smaller booklets about how to start a business doing XYZ. And so this one is about selling custom and print on demand merch online. In other words, we're talking about coming up with your own artwork, and don't let me saying that scare you away from it. It's way easier than you think, and I'll talk about that in here. But coming up with your own artwork, slogans, things like that, your own business logos, and making that available for people to buy in print on demand fashion on t-shirts, hoodies, hats, coats, aprons, coffee mugs. I mean, the vendor that I use, there's like 75 different items people can order my artwork on. And so the crazy thing is as soon as I say create your own artwork, a lot of people are like, well, I'm not sure about that. I don't use Photoshop, or I don't know how to do that. I don't either. I have a VA actually do most of my artwork. She creates the artwork for me. She does the posting for me. And I talk about that in the book, how you can come up with the business idea, come up with a theme, come up with the ideas for artwork, come up with all these cool or funny slogans and things like that and artwork. And I just realized I said things, like sometimes my Southern comes out. And so, yeah, you'll spot that sometimes. But I'll tell you in the book how to do all that stuff way easier than you think, how to have somebody else create the artwork, somebody else do the uploading, because my goal for streams of income, multiple streams of income specifically, is that you're not just adding yet one more side hustle, one more business to an already busy life. I like things like this where you can take things that you're already doing and repurpose it and make more money off of it, especially in a passive manner, or you can start something up and pay somebody a portion of the profits to do it for you. And you're also making money mostly passive. They're doing all the work and you're sharing the money. And so I love things like that. And like, writing books, like publishing books, once it's out there, it's passive. You've done the work. So unless you're doing marketing, which you kind of do need to, unless you're doing marketing to push it, the money is passive. The thing's out there and you just get a statement every month or whenever things are selling. Really cool. So check it out. It's going to be the first in a long series of build your own business. I'm not sure on what I'm going to call it yet. Start a business in 30 days. The idea factory. I'm tossing around a lot of ideas for that, but this is the first guide that's coming out in that series. Hope you enjoy.